Thank you for attending the Wintertime Training Workshop on Family Connections. When you hear the word family connections, there might be many things that come to mind. Some of those things might be just connecting with family. Some of those might be who you consider family and how you connect with them. It can bring on feelings of, oh, I don't connect with my family, or, I love connecting with my family. There's so many different things that could pop into your head during this time. So what we're going to talk about is just differences, the importance of family connections, even around the holidays and even with cultural. So what is family connections? Family connections can mean many things. It is multi-faced connection that can be with any member or members of your family, including extended family. So this means there are so many different realms of what family connection could be and who you consider as a family connection. It could be relatives that are very close to you. It could be extended family. It could be family that you are married into. It could be family that you're not related to and you consider family. It can mean your friends. It's that type of connection, and the ways that you can form those connections can be from like beginning stages of friendships or new relationships and building on that family connection and, reaching out with their family or including other family members or friends. You can build onto previous connections that you have with friends or family or extended family, and as well as establish new connections. And that could be the same thing as beginning stages. There isn't a set way to have a family connection, especially during the holidays or a celebration. It just depends on you and how you see things and your family, and how you kind of want to go around, having that family connection. So why is it important? What's important about family connections? If you have children within the home or just children in general, having that family connection can help that child feel more secure or feel more loved. And it helps show the strength and bond between family relationships. So if you have children within the home and they are around a lot of family and they see that togetherness and they see that generations of, community connection, family connection, it kind of helps build onto what they see or possibly help them through their growing. It's also important because it helps build positive family relationships, and that could be through any type of family relationship. It could be day to day. If you have some family that you only reach out to or have, communication with on short periods of time, or if you only see each other on holidays, there's important pieces with each different type of family relationship that you have. It's also important because if you are, or if you may have trouble with, communicating or communication styles with different family members, having that connection or that time spent with that person can help you and that person work on the different types of communication styles that you may have. And it could also help with having better conflict resolution when you are working with that person. It also builds on teamwork within a family, and there can be enjoyed company within that family boundaries. So, you may only see certain families during certain times of year, but you still build family connections with them, but you also keep those same boundaries that you may have, and that's why you only are with them certain times throughout the year. And also families is most often who we turn to for support. When we're going through something in our lives, we tend to turn to someone we trust, someone we feel that helps keep us secure and safe. And usually that's a family member. And it might not be a blood family member, it could be someone that you consider family. So that kind of goes with the whole family connections, that it may not be an actual blood relative, but someone that you consider family. So building relationships. There are some different things that you can do to build relationships, and this can go with newfound relations or those that you may have from, just building on to ones that you have with certain family members, friends, etc. You take interest in each other's lives. You get a connection by building on interests. There might be some things that you like and you resonate with someone else in your family who has those same interests. For example, usually sometimes during family get-togethers, you'll see different age groups with each other. It'd be adults, it'd be the teenagers, it could be the children, the young children. There's some type of connection that they may have through interest, through their age, through their developmental stages, that kind of connects them to each other. And you'll see that, if you take on, or if you're with family during like certain holidays or celebrations, or, just get-togethers in general. So that helps build relationships. It helps build bonds. It helps with the connection and those long-term memories that that person would remember moving forward. With building relationships, there's also communication, and the communication is, just talking with them, laughing, enjoying each other's company, as well as inclusion. So when you're including others within your family, it builds in that whole cycle of, communication and interest, as well as acknowledgement. You're acknowledging that you have family, that you have interest, that you are acknowledging their feelings, and it helps build the trust. It helps build the trust within the home, within the family, within that whole group. And when you're at like a family function or a holiday function, celebration, you'll see the adults usually sitting together, or groups of adult pods throughout the home or the facility or wherever it is that gathering might be. And you'll see them and they'll probably talk about the different age groups, like, oh, I see this person, look at them over there playing. And that helps bring up conversation topics for their group. And so it all kind of bubbles in with each other and bounces off each other as to what those topics are, because it may be talking about, oh, the children are doing this, oh, the adults are doing this, oh, do you see this, or we're doing this, we're doing that. It helps with that communication. It helps include everybody within that environment or within that group gathering, and people are acknowledged and they feel that acknowledgement, and that also helps build on with the trust. Then there's connection during holidays or family gatherings, celebrations, or whatever it is that your family may do during specific times of the year. Some of those things that you could do to help build those connections is reaching out to extended family. Sometimes when you are planning to meet or have something going on through a holiday, reaching out or finding ways to reach out is the best way to kind of make others feel important or included, or acknowledged, kind of based off of the last slide of building those relationships. You can create a safe place or space to plan and celebrate those holidays or celebrations. It can be deciding or choosing where, when, and how long you might be wanting to do this celebration, planning out this, like planning out holidays can take a long time. It can take weeks of prep because it includes, the who, what, where, when, why, the food, how are we going to do this? What kind of things do we need to make sure that we include in our celebration? How can we do this to run the most smooth as possible? There's so many different aspects that goes around with creating a safe space. It also helps build long-term memories. So when you're meeting with family members and you're meeting with, friends, and you're building onto these connections and adding to, long-term memories, it brings peace and it brings happiness to your life to know that you've been able to create another memory, another moment of laughter, another moment where you're connecting with someone else, another moment of, seeing someone else and seeing their happiness. It could be from anyone, from children to adults, to friends. Those memories are there. Making the phone calls to invite and reach out to those who may not be able to make it to family gatherings. Those make a world of a difference to someone who may have had something come up and they were just not able to make it, and they might feel down or feel sad. That phone call can make them feel more cheerful, that even though that they weren't be able to make it there, that their presence is still being recognized. That can also be video calls to extended families. So phone calls or video calls. I know during the past couple years, we have been hit with a pandemic and a lot of access to different types of technology-based video systems were being used, like Zoom or FaceTime. And that's how we stayed connected with our family members, because, during that time, we weren't fortunate enough to be able to spend physical time together. So we had to find different ways to connect and different ways to see each other, even if it was something, as just a video call. Also, mail. Mail is something that can be used to help build those connections, sending cards or, sending gifts through the mail, things like that. That helps with building that connection and staying connected with family members during holidays, and those who may not be able to travel due to like disabilities or health issues or financial situations. There's always different ways that you can find a way to connect. It's just thinking outside of the box, or even communicating with that person and trying to find out, what they're able to do or how they're able to figure out how to stay connected. And I'm going to give you a minute to sit there and think about, different ways that you can connect with family during the holidays. What would be ideal for you and your family? So as you've taken time to kind of think about what it is that you might connect or use to connect during family times, some of these things may have popped up, or maybe something that you already do, or maybe you've thought of other things that your family might do based off of your own traditions or your own cultural awareness in terms of connection. So something else with family connections, especially during holidays, is finding ways to keep the peace. Sometimes this can be a big thing, and it can go with certain family members that may not get along, or certain topic of conversations that may come up or arise, finding ways to kind of steer away from those or bring those down. It's always good to have some type of game plan on what to do if this happens to be something that happens. So having realistic expectations. That means there's always going to possibly be some type of conflict or disagreement between family members or friends or anyone. And having that expectation, knowing that this could happen, especially if you think of the guest list or those who might be there, you might already know who may have a little bit of trouble keeping on a good, peaceful path of communication. And having a game plan of what to do if something were to happen is always something good to do. There are certain topics that can set off someone's emotions or make them feel triggered in any type of way, or bring up some type of emotion that you're not expecting or wouldn't have typically expected, but because you know who these family members are and what could happen, that goes along with that realistic expectation of making sure that you have a game plan to kind of alleviate or diminish or steer those family members into a place that is more peaceful. This also goes with setting aside differences. With realistic expectations, we know that not everybody has the same communication style. Not everybody feels the same way or passionate about something compared to someone else. So learning how to set aside those differences, if you are someone who happens to feel that, is a good way to alleviate any possible triggers during family gatherings, and it helps keep peace. You can also learn to set boundaries. So making sure that you have boundaries set as to for yourself that these are topics that I will not engage in. These are communication things that I will not discuss or talk about. If it does get brought up, I'm going to make sure that I change the subject, or I bring that conversation to a good space. So knowing your own personal boundaries, as well as if it happens to be within your home, your gathering is within your home, is letting those boundaries be known that we're not going to discuss this. And that could be you stepping into a conversation that you may be hearing or somewhat a part of, and letting them know, like, we can discuss this at a different time. Let's go ahead and get back on track of talking about this, or finding ways to spearhead that conversation that could be happening into a different way of making sure that it is staying peaceful. You can also be proactive and making sure that, conversations stay in a good space, that the family members or the friends or anyone that's around, that they have a really good headspace going on at the time. If you feel like something might not be happening, it could always be easy as a pull aside and talk to that person and giving them that acknowledgement and that inclusion that their feelings are important. What it is that they might be going through might be something a little bit more than what is on the outer surface. It might be something very internalized. And it could come off in a way to where it makes others feel uncomfortable, but that's why, you build those relationships, you connect with people, and you try to keep the peace as well as, building that connection and giving those family members that moment of acknowledgement and let them know that their feelings and their emotions are just equally as important as someone else's. You can also practice tolerance. Tolerance can be a big thing. It can be as simple as, sitting in a room with someone, sitting in a conversation with someone, being in a group conversation, or just sitting in a room with people in general. It comes in like all shapes and sizes. It just depends on you and your tolerance level and what you can do and how you can work around it by keeping that peace. And it could be as easy as if you feel that it is coming to a point where you're having a really hard time sitting in a conversation, you can always excuse yourself, which goes along with the setting the boundaries. You as an individual know what it is that you can take and how far you can go within a conversation or being in a conversation or in a certain space with people. So using that boundary practice, as well as having a realistic expectation of how much that you can handle, and then how much you can tolerate and what it is that you need to do to make sure that you are keeping peace for yourself. You also need to know that it's okay to say no. It's okay to disagree. You do not have to disagree with everybody in what it is that they might be saying. It's natural for us to have our own opinions on things in life. And it's okay to discuss those. But it also goes with setting aside differences and having those boundaries set and knowing what you can and cannot tolerate. So if you know that having a difference into something that's being discussed currently in a conversation, and you know that it could probably cause tension or cause an uncomfortable situation or conversation, you can practice your tolerance and you can practice your boundaries and you can excuse yourself from conversations. It all kind of goes hand in hand, as well as, the next bullet, self-care. You know what your body can handle, you know what your mind, your emotions, and everything. You know what you can do to help keep peace within yourself, as well as others. So if there's a conversation or something going on that you just don't feel comfortable being a part of, you stepping out of that conversation or out of that space is self-care, as well as helping others who might be having a difficult time within a conversation or being in a space with someone. If you find ways to diffuse and change the path, then that can also be considered self-care because you've seen something, you acknowledged it, you figured out a way to change it to where it didn't alter your emotions as well as others in the room. And at this time, I'm going to pause and let you think of ways of how you can keep peace within your family. Think of a situation that may have happened in the past. Think of maybe a future situation that could happen. What can you do to help keep the peace for yourself and for others around you? So balancing holidays between homes. This could be a big one if you have a large family, if you have a split family. There are different things that you can do to try to figure out ways of how to balance holidays or celebrations. An example could be if you have children with someone and you are currently no longer together, but you have to share holidays or it's something that you choose to do. Another example could be having a large family and trying to find ways to host these family gatherings, especially if family is scattered over a large area, of trying to find ways to help everybody feel included. So you might want to discuss with other family members and finding ways on how to host family events in different areas, finding ways of how to communicate with families that are spread throughout different areas to where everybody feels included, and trying to find a space that might be more center pointed for majority of those families for 1 year, and maybe the next year a space of where it's closer to another group of families, or even separating holidays for your children, or finding ways to make it feel best for them if you have a household with children whose parents may not be together. That kind of goes in the whole split holidays, and finding a rotation. It could be, every other year sharing holidays or having holidays together for children. Either way of how you figure out how to balance the holidays between different homes, it builds memories. It builds memories for you. It builds memories for children. It builds memories for your family, your friends, anybody who's been included. And you can take some time to think about different ways of how you can balance your holidays between different homes. Next, there's cultural practices. With family connections, there could be cultural practices that you and your family might partake in. And there's two different types of things. So there are generational family traditions. And this could be a variety of things. It could be from having specific holidays at certain houses or with certain family members, to what's being cooked, what kind of games, music, different things that you might be doing. Different cultural backgrounds practice different types of traditions. So depending on your cultural background, your traditions might be different to someone else's. Even if you have the same cultural background as someone, you still might practice different types of traditional things during holidays or celebrations. One of the biggest things that I feel that happens during family connections or celebrations, holidays is cooking. Uh, there's certain types of recipes or specific types of food that get passed down from generation to generation. That's always a must or a go-to through these gatherings. And it could be a specific recipe that may have been passed down that you have to stick to it. Or it could be one that, everybody makes a different type of style of that specific recipe. That's probably one of the biggest things that I see or I have seen in generational family traditions, along with specific games that might have been passed down or done throughout different types of generations. It could be anything from traditional type holiday games as a secret gift exchange, to where you may not know who it is who has bought you a gift, but then you find out at the end. It could be anything a little bit more culturally traditional, as to, going based off of what it is that your culture might do within holidays or if they celebrate holidays. And then there's also new family traditions. New family traditions can be also a variety of things. It could be family traditions that have happened based off of, new relationships or new friendships. You build on new traditions, and it could be as easy as setting up a table differently or cooking different recipes or sharing different recipes or cooking different meals that both of your families may have traditionally done, and you bring those together and then they become new family traditions. You can take a couple minutes to sit there and think about different cultural practices or traditions that you may have done in the past that maybe you haven't done in a long time and you feel or think of that you might want to bring back. And with that, I hope that you can sit there and kind of think about different types of family connections that you may have within your families, and friends and different relationships that you have, what you can do to help build onto those relationships, what you can do to help keep peaceful conversations and peaceful family connections, as well as adding on to new family traditions, as well as keeping, your own personal and family cultural practices set within those different types of family connections. Like I had said, it's multi-faced. There's so many different things that you can do or think of. And I hope that this kind of gives you an idea of what it is as to possibly expanding your own family connections, as well as maybe adding into bringing back old family traditions that you may have done in the past that you may have not have remembered, or something that you had realized you haven't done in a while. Thank you.